Anyway, what's up, fucker?
How the hell are ya?
I'm good. How you doing?
Much better. Finally over the sickness, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Went through the house.
Went around to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Must be from that conspiracy fog.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, dude, I remember there was one day that was pretty foggy right before New Year's, and then we all got sick.
Yeah. Which my conspiracy brain keeps playing with it because the logic part of me goes, it's winter and there's inversion and all that.
Flu season.
But then you know how it is with the monkey.
TikTok said, dude.
TikTok said. There's something
said.
about it.
Yeah.
No, I just kind of been playing around with the idea of what if, because of all the like disclosure stuff that's happening, it's the fog is like an inoculation against some alien pathogen.
Yeah.
They just give it to us all at once.
Yeah. Smart.
Yeah, because everything that talks about
looking out for us, you know.
Oh yeah, they got our best interests at heart.
Or maybe it's the aliens inoculating us, doing that shit so that the government can't kill us with the bird flu.
Ooh, that's it. What if we never get sick again?
That would be tight, dude.
Yeah.
That would be sick.
No, that was a good one. Yeah, so we're going to talk about some conspiracy theories with the Maui and California fires.
And there are a plethora of them.
It's fun.
Yeah. I mean, not saying that the fires are fun. It's definitely a tragic situation.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, there are a lot of interesting theories going around.
So many. And I remember hearing a few when Maui was burning.
Mm-hmm.
And I never paid any never mind to California because it's on fire every year.
Yeah.
But this year was like especially fun because of all of the celebrity stuff or the alien stuff and everything else that goes into it. This time around, it's like, oh, I'm actually looking at this.
Yeah. And it seems, maybe it's just the social media influence on big events like this, but it seems like every single event that happens now, there's a number of conspiracy theories that come out about it, which is, I mean, I guess that's happened in the past with everything, but like it seems like every situation now has aliens and...
Yeah, I think it's because of the dissemination of information. Your propagation is probably a better word, like how fast it spreads and goes out.
Yeah.
And there was a guy recently on TikTok, he actually proved that it's kind of a stupid way to do it because he started the whole if a father pays child support, he's entitled to the tax return thing. It's totally not true. He just went on there and did it, and he got like 12 million views on it instantly. And now everybody's, saying the same thing. But it's not true at all.
Yeah.
He totally made that shit up just to see like a social experiment.
Yeah.
And that's hilarious. But that's why I always think like when I'm scrolling and I see something, I kind of go,
that
it could be, but
fake.
Well, I mean, it's just like whenever we would have the congressional hearings on aliens or UAPs, and now everybody on TikTok is like, so the government just admitted aliens are real and nobody's freaking out. Like, well, first of all, they didn't. I watched it, and that never at any point was an actual government official like, oh yeah, aliens are totally real.
Yeah.
They talk about non-human biologics and things like that, but nobody came out and said that.
Yeah.
It's just that propagation.
We've talked about it before, that those hearings were just them asking about if there are these secret programs, and how much they can talk about it, which most of the whistleblowers are saying, yes, there are these secret programs that are going on, but to keep their security clearances, they couldn't talk about it. There wasn't really an actual official saying that, yes, aliens are real.
No. Well, and that perpetuates right into the California fire thing.
Yes.
Which I actually had a lot of fun going through a lot of these things and just dispelling so many so easily.
Oh yeah, it was. And again, it was like, chasing rabbit holes only to find more rabbit holes. It's like the whole rabbit hole community, which is, I mean, tunnels are part of it also.
Yeah, tunnels are part of it. What's like the most outlandish one in your mind?
Okay, I'm just gonna come out here and say that I think that the fires were started by Bigfoot, who came in on a UFO, started the fires with a big blue laser to get rid of evidence for Puffy.
I think that encapsulated everything. I mean, that's it. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was like, okay, start going down what has happened, and then you find one thing, and then you start going down that rabbit hole, and then all of a sudden it leads to something else. Start going down that rabbit hole that leads to something else. Mm-hmm. So it was really, I mean, it was lots of twists and turns, but
oh man,
definitely a interesting ride.
It was. I think my favorite of the conspiracy theories was the direct energy weapons.
Yeah.
But they can't light a house on fire with a blue roof.
No, because so that conspiracy theories, it's like a huge laser, right, that they shoot from space, I guess.
Yeah, from a satellite.
From a satellite from space, but the laser's blue. And since when it hits, and I've seen experiments on this, like on YouTube and stuff, on Science Channel, showing that like they'll have a blue laser and they move it over the top of a balloon, and it's like they've got different colored balloons, and it pops each one of the balloons, and then they get to the blue one, shine it on the blue balloon, and it doesn't pop because the color blue is the same frequency as the blue laser. So it doesn't, it just absorbs that energy. So it can't melt anything that's blue. So you go through the fires, and they're saying, you know, these energy weapons were melting everything in sight, like, and then they show like a puddle of molten aluminum from car's wheels or something, and then right next to it is like a blue plastic garbage can that's totally unfazed. Yeah. Saying that because it was blue.
Or blue T-shirts.
Or
shit
blue,
like
tarps.
Yeah.
Didn't melt or burn. Which is odd, but like, fire does weird shit.
I don't think it's totally unexplainable.
No.
I think it's just a weird coincidence. If it was like everything that was blue survived, all right, you got a point. But it's this one random shop has like one row of blue T-shirts that survived. That sounds more like a cosmic fluke to me.
Yeah.
Or the tarps, you know, like what are the tarps made of? Were they wet? You know, was there moisture or whatever? Where was it stored, kind of thing? There's too many variables in that to just be like, oh, that has to be it.
Energy weapon. Which
direct energy weapons exist, 100%. I mean, just because we don't see them or even have like, you know, a fucking railgun from a racer or whatever, like, just because we don't have phasers like in Star Trek doesn't mean it's not real. It's just a huge, big, powerful thing, and it's like, why would you break that out if you didn't have to?
Yeah, but they do.
But they do. I do think one compelling piece of evidence with the Lahaina fires is there was essentially a satellite doing a scan over the area, but it was, what was it called? Oh my God, did I not write it down? Anyway.
We'll just call it the giant laser.
It was a LiDAR thing.
Okay.
It was like 3D mapping, essentially. When people caught it like on the Ring door cams, you could see the beams striking down, but you can see that it's just a scanning thing, and then the fires happened later, like days later, which they say the cause is down power lines. Easy to accept in my book, I mean.
Yeah. And So me and my wife were in Maui
Mm-hmm.
about almost a year to the date that the fires happened, before.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been to Hawaii several times before, and never been to Maui. So that was our first time there, and we were talking about it like we were driving around the island, like it was such a different landscape than that we'd seen on other islands in Hawaii, because everything was so dry.
Yeah.
We were talking about it the whole time driving around, like, man, holy shit, I didn't really expect it. It looks like a desert. Like, it looks like rocky and grasslands, but I guess it was sugarcane fields and pineapple plantations that are no longer there, but nobody's doing anything with those properties. So they're just kind of overgrown. And at the time we were there, which was late August, early September, everything was just fucking dry.
Oh yeah, all the husks and leaves from those
Yeah.
two plants they're just tender.
Yeah. And so we were talking about it, like, this is totally not something we were expecting. And that's like kind of like right outside of Lahaina, going across the island. It starts and then it goes for quite a ways, just open land like that. It's like mountainous, but also just dry. Like, you see some of the mountains out here during the peak of the summertime that's just dry tinder.
Oh yeah.
So we were talking about, like, man, that would suck if a fire started out here. It would just blow
instantly.
Through here, and like a year later, it happened. I think what was weird about it was that, like, initially the fire started kind of in the middle of the island, and so there was a bunch of fires over here, and then all of a sudden a big fire over here where the main town of Lahaina is, and it swept through there and burned everything out.
So one of the conspiracy theories about that I do believe is the, like, disaster capitalist coming in and buying land for pennies on the dollar. But I was watching this video about all these residents that are, like, fighting back against their city council of, people have been trying to buy Lahaina for forever, but because it's what do you call it? Oh my God, I just lost the word. It's like Old Town. It's historic is what it is, because it's so historic that it's like they can't just forcibly buy it.
Yeah.
But when it's burned to the ground, it's no longer historic land.
True.
So it just left it open for developers to come in and, like, oh shit, we'll buy it for pennies on the dollar. We'll build a resort right here.
Yeah. Which is weird, because I was looking up, it's been almost 2 years now, 2.5 years since the fires, and a lot of those people are still in hotels.
Yeah.
And there's only been work on like 12 structures there since like 2.5 years. 3 actual homes have been rebuilt. 3 in 2.5 years.
3 out of the thousands of homes.
Yeah, and there's been 12 structures altogether that have been rebuilt.
Do you know what kind of links those fires, the California fires, and
the smart city
and Hurricane Milton? The amount of money the government dispersed to the people, it's like $700.
Yeah.
There's a slight variation between
FEMA.
each one from FEMA, and it's like, that's it? And so another one of those theories is like, yeah, we're going to give you guys $700, but at the same time they sent a huge payment over to Ukraine. Why are we sending Ukraine money when we need help here,
Yeah.
And that was the same during Hurricane Milton too. I know that's not a fire, but it's still this huge natural disaster here in America, but the government is still like, we got to take care of Ukraine. No, the fuck we don't.
Yeah. Well, it's the same with Hurricane Helena that just went through North Carolina.
Yeah.
In October, and there's people out there that are sleeping in tents through the winter in North Carolina. It gets cold there.
And the government promised, like, we're going to help, and then they give them this $700 check.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, well, there's access to more. Well, give it to us.
Yeah.
Like, help these people get somewhere. But they're not doing a fucking thing.
Yeah, it's hopefully with Trump being in office, that'll change. And he's said that, he's going to get FEMA out of the way if he has to get these people the things that they need, which is super a much needed change.
I agree. FEMA has consistently dropped the ball.
Oh, yeah.
Think about Hurricane Katrina, where it took them 5 days to get water to the Superdome. Maybe it's not 5, maybe it was 4, but people in the Superdome just like suffering. Oh yeah, we'll get there after break.
Yeah. Definitely. And that was the main thing that I went down the rabbit hole on with the California fires, was the ineptitude of the California government, the elected officials there. I mean,
it goes well beyond just the fires. I gotta be honest.
No, yeah. I mean, the fires are huge, like, red flag. I mean, it should be pretty eye-opening to the people there that, like, their elected officials have been squandering and fucking mismanaging shit for a long, long time.
Oh, man. I honestly, no matter what side of the political aisle you stand on, I really do think that state is going to turn red.
Yeah.
Not just because of the ineptitude, but if you have Trump and company who come in and actually handle shit and get things taken care of, they're going to be like, why was I voting for an idiot like Gavin Newsom?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Gavin Newsom is a fucking idiot.
Yes, he is.
So they're going to be like, why did we vote for this guy when this is the guy who came in and took care of shit?
Yeah.
Like, he fixed it quickly.
Yeah.
But, yeah, just everything about that state, the way it's run, is so dumb to me.
I was watching a video of Adam Carolla, who's been a leftist most of his life, but that's the same thing that he was saying. He was like, this whole thing is going to turn California red because they're going to see, like, how much their policies have impacted, the people that they've put into office, how much of their policies have impacted and how difficult it is to get permits to rebuild, and they're going to have to go through all this red tape that Trump is demanding needs to be,
cut that shit out.
Isn't
it funny with Adam Carolla, where you had Adam Carolla and Jimmy Kimmel together on The Man Show?
Yeah.
Remember that? Yeah. With the beer chugging and all that, and the women on trampolines. And then when they part ways, Adam Carolla turns like far right, and Jimmy Kimmel is a far left bootlicker, basically. Yeah. It's so weird to me. I couldn't imagine those two actually, like, still
also
talking.
To watch the trajectory of their careers. Like,
oh, yeah.
Adam Carolla is, kind of in the same spot that he was. Not as forefront as he used to be.
Yeah.
And then, on the other hand, Jimmy Kimmel's skyrocketed in popularity, or being put on the Tonight Show or whatever that show is that he's on now.
I can't fucking stand that guy.
Yeah.
He's so annoying.
But yeah, I mean, so I was going down different rabbit holes about, like, California water rights, and it's been a huge thing forever in California, especially in LA, about where they get their water from and how much they can allocate for the city. Which is weird because, like, so most of their water, or a large part of it, comes from this reservoir that they made an aqueduct in the early 1900s. Just, I want to say steal water, but, like, bring water to the city from, it's like 250 miles away.
Yeah.
This reservoir near Paradise, California, which burned a couple of years ago. And the people of Paradise were putting up a big stink saying, we need this water it's a big agricultural community where it's like one of the largest producers in America of, like, tomatoes and shit that we eat.
Yeah.
You know, the food that we eat comes from this area in California. So all the farmers are saying, hey, we need this water so that we can feed America, we can feed the world. You know, it's like 5% of the shit that comes from agriculture in the United States is produced there.
Yeah.
And so it's a huge part. And so they've been going back and forth, and I think they were the ones that were saying that got that minnow protected that Trump was talking about, that
the stupid fish.
The stupid fish. The stupid fish that nobody cares about.
Nobody cares about. that had me cracking up.
I think they're the ones that finally got that protected and were able to keep their water rights so that they could have their farms.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow that burned down like 2 years ago.
What?
The whole
No
community
way.
burned down. So it's part of the conspiracy.
It is, and the water thing baffles me anyway. And I remember I was watching this video, and they're talking about this gal where her job is to make sure that the reservoirs and the water tanks and everything are full. This lady gets paid $750,000 a year by the state of California to make sure that there's water on hand. I think they should ask for a refund. Because I was looking at the Palisades Reservoir was empty. It's supposed to hold 117 million gallons. I don't know if you know this. That's a lot.
That's a lot of water.
Instead, they're trying to fight all these fires off of a handful of tanks that only hold 1 million gallons of water.
Yeah.
Which in hindsight is not really a lot.
That's not a lot. It's not 117 million.
So yeah, just further proof of ineptitude on the state of California.
Yeah, so what is it? The something Inez, Verda Inez, or some shit like that, the name of this reservoir that's right a couple thousand feet away up on top of this hill.
Mm-hmm.
This 117 million gallon reservoir. And so I was watching a video that was saying that they have to, so these reservoirs use the same plumbing system as the drinking water, so that the water in these reservoirs has to be as clean as the drinking water. You can't just put like gray water through these pipes because you'll contaminate the piping system. So they've got this huge reservoir, and it has to be covered so that bird shit can't get in there and contaminate the water, and you know, dead things floating around inside. So they've got this cover on top of this. Well, there was a rip in the cover, and so that's a problem, I guess. So they had the whole thing drained so that they could repair this rip in the cover that covers this.
Why would you drain it when you could chemically treat it?
So they drained this thing, but this was like last February that they drained it.
Yeah.
And it's been drained since then. Nobody's done any repairs. Nothing's been done. And it's been sitting there empty. But it's like, okay, well, if there's a rip, why don't you just fix the hole and then drain it and then refill it? Leave the water there until, just in case something happens.
Yeah.
Leave the water there.
You can still fight fires with dirty water.
Yeah. Leave the water there, repair the hole, drain the reservoir, and then fill it back up.
It's too logical.
Stupid? Am I stupid here?
No, it's too logical.
Yeah.
If it didn't cost at least $1 million, not going to happen.
Yeah. So that was one huge factor in, you know, why these firefighters were, you know, they were saying that the firefighters would get there and try to start fighting a fire, and there's no pressure in the hydrants.
Mm-hmm.
It's because the hydrants had no water pressure, because they're getting, you know, everybody around the whole city is trying to fight these fires. And it's like if every single person in Salt Lake flushed their toilet all at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
You'd have a problem.
Big one.
Yeah, because there's no pressure.
Can you imagine being a firefighter, go up to this massive fucking fire and get your hose, you're like, ready, boys, and you pull the handle, and like a little flag comes out that says bang.
Let her eat! Oh, fuck!
Yeah, let's go back to the 15-minute city, because that is a super cool one.
Yeah.
And that also kind of doubles into the historic Lahaina thing, where they wanted to try to buy that land, but because it's historic and the people there, like, that's part of their culture, is that city. So if it burns down, like I was saying, we can build a resort. But there was talks about the 15-minute city there. But Southern California has been trying to do, not the 15-minute city, what was
Smart
it called?
city.
The 20-minute suburb. And even like the historic, what was the mayor's name? I can't remember. Anyway, it was in like the 50s, and he's talking about, Santa Monica, 20 minutes from the beach or 20 minutes to downtown, that sort of thing. They've been trying to do that for almost 100 years now, where they can have compacted living situations in order to better fuel, business and healthcare and jobs and all these other things in the surrounding area, where it's kind of like, we want you guys to huddle together in a tiny little living situation and keep everything else vast.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what it would be in a place like Lahaina. That makes perfect sense, because you could be fairly close to resorts or job markets and things like that, while keeping like an open array of, the pineapple fields and things like that. But you got to live on top of each other.
Yeah.
And nobody wants that.
Yeah.
People still want to have individual family homes.
And that's one thing that has changed actually now, is that the zoning has changed. They've changed the zoning now. So it was like each lot was subdivided to a single family subdivision, like this lot is a single family home. So they've changed the zoning, so now each one of those lots can have up to 4 houses on it now. And so it's like, yeah, they definitely are making things more compact. And I mean, realistically, if I owned a place like that and it was zoned for one house and I had a decent sized lot and they did that, I'd be go, okay, that's cool, because now I can build 3 more properties or 3 more houses on my property and then make money off of it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I get it, but like at the same time, how much of that is just so they can stack people on top of each other? Like,
yeah, it's eliminating the idea of like your typical kind of family home, like your house, where you have like a reasonably sized front yard, but you have a large backyard.
yeah,
Instead, it's, let's eliminate those backyards, put another house there. You still have an individual family home, but your kids have no room to play.
yeah. So Salt Lake has actually done that also, so you can subdivide your own lot.
Oh, yeah.
They just did that a couple of years ago. So I can legally build another house in my backyard and then rent it out to somebody else. But I don't want to do that because it's my yard.
Yeah.
And where the fuck are we going to slip and slide?
Where the fuck is Summerween going to happen? Yeah, and California's been that way, I think, for a long time. Because I remember when I was a kid, it was like there was a lot of single family homes, but you'd start seeing more and more like duplexes pop up and more apartment buildings and things like that. But when you have so many people living in such a densely compacted area, it's kind of a requirement.
Yeah.
And then when you have too many people, you burn it down, so they have to move away.
Yeah.
Which California's been great. Amazing at getting people to move away.
Which is really weird, wild, the growth of that whole area, like, especially with the water needs that it takes to feed and fuel that a population of that size. Like, so before they diverted that, made that aqueduct and brought all that water down, they said the population in 1908 was like 200,000 people in
That's nothing.
in Los Angeles, yeah. And in 20 years, from 1908 until 1928 or something like that, it grew to 20 million people in 20 years. Now I think that there's 50 million or something like that people in Los Angeles County, LA County.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, the state of Utah only has 4 million people.
Yeah. And that's just Los Angeles County.
Yeah, that's just Los Angeles County.
Orange County is not very far behind, and they're just south of Los Angeles.
Yeah. So, it takes a lot of water.
I heard somewhere, and I didn't fact check it, so I hate throwing it out, but I'm going to say it anyway. I heard that California is like the 4th highest economy in
the world. Not even California, L.A.
L.A. Yeah, I could see it. I mean, I don't know how anybody affords to live there.
No, I don't. Yeah, I mean, especially normal people like you and I, just having a regular job. And I was watching a lot of people on TikTok talking about, specifically they were talking about the Paradise Fires and how much their energy bill has increased since that. So there was a lawsuit against PG&E, who's the power, gas, and electric company in California. And they settled, paid a huge settlement, saying that they were responsible for these fires because they weren't maintaining the electrical lines, power lines. And they settled this huge lawsuit, but it drove everybody's power, gas, and electric bills up. And so they were talking about, all these people showing how they save power and how they try to save money for, like, they go to work, they shut off all of their breakers to their house just to save power.
Jesus.
And it's like they only run their air conditioning at night and stuff, and they're like, yeah, my power bill every month is between $600 and $1,200.
Yeah.
And so, like, dude, that is fucking crazy.
That's not quite rent, but that's close to rent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I have a friend who lives in Cathedral City. She showed me one of her power bills, and you're talking in the desert, and it's motherfucking hot. You're talking like 98 degrees at night.
Yeah.
Hot. And showed me her power bill, and I was like, holy shit. You're $1,200,
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine. Like, I can't afford to live on my own here in Salt Lake on what I make, let alone people trying to make it in California without having 5 fucking roommates. I couldn't do it.
No.
I even look at my sister, because she still lives in LA County. But like when they got their house, it was on a short sale. And I remember at the time it was like $400,000 something. And I was like, oh my God, no way. That's the price of a normal house now here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they got pretty lucky on that. But it was just like, you look at the cost of living, everything, gas prices, milk prices, everything is so expensive out there. And then they have to pay through the nose for state taxes every year. And for what? Like, you're not providing any services.
No.
Fucking places on fire. And
so that the mayor can go to fucking Ghana.
Yeah,
she should be watching the fucking winds.
That mayor, holy shit. So that press conference thing you were telling me about, and I watched it, and her and Trump kind of like having a little bicker thing was just so entertaining to me.
It was. Because
she is clearly inept, and here's Trump telling her, like, no, you're going to do this. Yeah, we can look, no, you're going to do this.
Probably 10 days. 10 days is too long.
Yeah.
Probably a week. A week is too long.
Well, we got to look at things as hazardous waste. No, if people want to clear out their property, they should be able to do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fucking hilarious.
Yeah. So, a big thing with the whole thing was, like, 2017, they announced they want to make Maui, Lahaina, a smart city. Mm-hmm. And then these fires happened a couple of years later. Conveniently wipes out all the shit they wanted to redo, and so they can rebuild from scratch. So, what was it, 2020 or something like that, Gavin Newsom came out and said that he wants to make LA a smart city. And lo and behold, a lot of the shit that they want to redo is along the paths of these fires that have taken out everything.
Yeah, the big one in that, to me, was the bullet train.
Yeah.
And I had seen some stuff on TikTok, again, like the perpetuation of bullshit, but it put me on the right track to go look at it myself, where somebody had showed like a map of the proposed bullet train path and then a map of where the fires are. Well, the bullet train map was accurate, but the fires was not. It was like warning areas that were kind of along that line. So it wasn't like actual fires were there. Some of them were in that line, not all of them. It was kind of like there was a chunk at the end and then a few more chunks kind of in the way of that line. But to me, it would have made perfect sense if those two lined up like, oh, we got to, build this bullet train. We got to start laying track and shit. Ah, man, look at all that pesky houses and shit in the way. I know. Let's light it on fire.
Maybe if there was a natural disaster that came through, we could buy the houses, but they don't want to sell.
We could buy them really cheap if it was just a lot and there was no house.
Yeah.
Which Gavin Newsom I was watching a video about it, and he's like, all the properties along the way we've bought out already independently, within the state of California's budget and whatever. And I'm like, bullshit. There's no way.
Yeah.
But, the convenience of it is still there, even if it's not, two perpendicular lines that just overlay each other like, oh, hey, the fire burned a perfect path for the bullet train. There's enough of it for me to go, could be.
Yeah. So another juicy conspiracy is that the fires were a cover-up for the child trafficking rings and the adrenochrome stuff that happens in Hollywood. And it has a lot to do with Diddy. One of Diddy's mansions was burned. A lot of other celebrities who could be involved in these things.
You know what I found most entertaining about that is because I saw the same thing, and when I went down the rabbit hole, it was most places or most news sources would report like houses of celebrities who have not been kind of named within that, but the deeper you dig, the more you find, oh, this person who was directly tied to Diddy, or this person, all their mansions burned down.
Beyonce's mom.
So I didn't dig super far into it. Like I was going to go on Google Maps and see if I could see Diddy's house, but according to all the news sources, his house didn't burn down. But that's not his only property.
Right.
That was just like the main one, So I would not be surprised if that actually was part of it, especially with his trial coming up in like 4 months.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a weird call to ask for a speedy trial on such a huge case. I don't. But yeah,
I can see them asking for a speedy trial just so that rumors can't spread as widely as quickly. I mean, they spread quickly, but like to try to get a fair trial with people that don't know anything about the case, the longer you wait, the smaller of a chance there is that people don't know what's going on.
That's true.
So, I can see them asking for a speedy trial just so that more evidence can't come out and it can't spread to as wide of a population as it could with more time.
Or my theory is that there's so much evidence that if you ask for a speedy trial, they don't have time to go through everything.
Oh yeah, it's like 3,000 something people that have come out and said that they're victims of his abuse.
And then all the footage he had, I can't remember the amount of hard drives, but it was astronomical.
Yeah.
Like, this dude better have a Best Buy account getting points every time he buys a hard drive.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So that's one. I'm not pointing any fingers. I just thought it was a weird coincidence or, something that is maybe a possibility. Like when I said Beyonce's mom, like, of course, Beyonce and Jay-Z have been named as like people who are involved with this P. Diddy thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, if I had some shit that was going to like clear my name or keep me from being blackmailed, or I can blackmail back with some evidence, I would want to keep it safe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to keep it on myself or on my person or my property. Like, who am I going to give it to? Somebody I trust. Well, who do I trust? My mom?
Yeah.
Maybe. You know? Is it possible? Maybe.
Well, I mean, there's other connections to that sort of thing with a lot of the celebrities whose houses have burned down. Even if it's like tertiary. I'm pretty sure Jennifer Gardner's house burned down, and her ex-husband is Ben Affleck, whose ex-wife is Jennifer Lopez, who was married to Diddy and was
6 degrees of separation here.
implicated with a lot of
too
things.
far.
No, it doesn't, especially in Hollywood. Speaking of sex trafficking in California, did you see that thing that came out where it was like a truck stop or something like that, and then across the highway there was I think it was a lumberyard. I only got a glimpse of it this morning, but it was caught by satellite by Google Maps. Somebody happened to be looking and they could see help, help, help.
Oh, yeah.
And all that, and just like spelled out in big boards and things like that. Like, why are we not over there kicking down fucking doors and opening up trailers?
Yeah.
And there were so many of them.
Yeah, there was probably looked like 8 or 10 different big things that said help.
Yeah. And then one of them, I think, said like trafficking or something like that. Like I said, I only caught a glimpse, so I don't want to beat on it too much, but we all know that Southern California is kind of a hub for that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, saw some videos talking about like all these kids that have been detained, like crossing the border, and there's like 3,000 kids that have been separated from the people that they came across the border with, and now those kids are missing.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's 3,000 kids that just vanished into thin air. Could they be being trafficked through these tunnels that they're talking about, that they're trying to cover up? I'm not going to say yes, but I'm not going to say no.
I mean, highly likely.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I mean, if the place is on fire, so you're trying to put it out with water, the water gets in the tunnels, floods the tunnels, kills all the kids and all the victims. They can't...
Washes out the evidence.
Yeah, they can't speak against you if they're dead.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you could stretch that out in any way possible, but I 100% would not discredit it.
Yeah.
Did you see all the AI generated stuff with like the Hollywood sign on fire and all that?
Yeah.
And then literally people are on social media like, yeah, I'm in California right now. It's not on fire. What do you think's going on with that?
Clout chasing again. Like we've talked about it before. Like, of course, we're making a video on the wildfires, but it has nothing to do with like bandwagoning or anything. We're just talking about a topic that is everybody's talking about. I mean, it's on being covered by every news station.
Well, it was.
I mean, it was.
That's old news.
Now
man.
everything is like Trump is ruining the world by the shit that he's already done.
Hardcore disagree.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But
It's been a wild week.
Yeah.
In the 1 week since he's been president.
Oh yeah. He's,
holy shit.
Fucking busy.
Yeah, like Cat Williams was like, Trump be out here doing shit that we thought only God could do. You're just like, you ain't wrong, dude.
Yeah, I was just watching this morning his address to the WEC, like talking about how they're going to pull out of the Paris deal or whatever.
Oh, the Paris Climate Accords.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be part of the World Economic Forum anymore. And he's talking about this at Davos, saying that
Oh, shit.
we're not gonna do all the shit that they want us to do.
Hey, you know
we're
what?
gonna drill for oil and we're gonna make America great. And if you want to bring your companies and manufacture shit in America, you're gonna have a lot of tax breaks. And if you don't want to do it, that's fine. We're just gonna charge you a shit ton of tariffs.
You know, I know it's kind of tertiary to the topic or off topic, but whether you love the guy or you hate him, that guy's making big moves.
Yeah.
I don't think every one of them is going to pan out, but he is making moves that I agree with. Not all of them, but the ones that actually affect my day-to-day life, 100%.
Yeah. And that's what, I mean, he's trying to bolster the American economy, not like bow down to foreign dignitaries to fucking kiss ass so that we can have a spot at the table somewhere else.
I agree. And I know there's a lot of controversial stuff with him, and that's neither here nor there to me, because, like, to me, all politicians are controversial. We just see him the most because he's the tip of the spear.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're making moves like, oh, we're going to legally cap the APR on credit card companies to 10%, so you can't commit usury, or you can't basically, like, put us in indentured slavery because we owe you $1,000 on a credit card that's going to take us 15 years to pay off with minimum payments. You know, things like that are actually important to day-to-day people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely still very kind of polarizing. But if he's just done these things in this 1 week since he's been president, let's see how it looks next year.
Yeah.
I feel like there's an episode right there.
There definitely is. He's doing a lot of things. But yeah, I thought that whole thing with, like, the missing kids, and there's this TikTok person named Allie Carter. I don't know if you've seen any of her shit.
I have.
Who talks a lot about, like, the Diddy stuff, and she was self-admitted, like, she was trafficked, and she was one of the people that you know, claims to be abused by Diddy, and all of his, kind of knows all the ins and outs of what he was doing and shit like that, and is saying a whole lot of shit on TikTok, whether it's true or not.
It's hard with the Diddy thing because you have so many of these big characters. So you have, like, Cat Williams is one of them, perpetuating a lot of stuff with all the Diddy stuff and all that. And he talked about a lot of it on that one show. Can't remember the name off the top of my head. Or Jaguar Wright, you know.
On the Shannon Sharp interview?
Shannon Sharp, that's it.
Yeah.
Which I actually really like his show.
Yeah.
He asks good questions.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jaguar Wright comes out with all this information that you kind of go, how the fuck do you know all that? Which makes you question what's the validity, like how much of this is things you know and how much is it, you know, speculation or through the grapevine stuff. But yeah, the problem I have is that so many of these people come out independently, but all their information is in line with each other.
Yeah.
Even though some of them don't even know each other.
A lot of them have, like Jaguar Wright, I know she was kind of on the inside track because I think it was her husband was, like, one of the main choreographers for, like, Usher and, like, all these big name performers, and a lot of those people that travel around with, you know, with the families of these people who are going on tour and shit like that, kind of become like family, so they know the ins and outs of what's going on with, like, all the people who were involved. But, like, so I can see, like, her having some inside knowledge is valid.
Well, there's quite a bit she says that I 100% believe her.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
she does come across as fucking a little bit unhinged, for sure. But, like,
she's been through a lot.
You have to be, like, if you go through all that shit, you kind of, like, no matter how you say it, it's going to sound fucking crazy.
100%.
So
100%. I hate, I like her. I bet I would have a great conversation with her, but I get an issue with, like, her staccato way of talking where she's like, let me tell you something. And then there's like a 9-second pause. That baby got hurt. And you're like, you could have said all that together. No, I bet she's actually pretty nice. But, yeah. The whole thing is weird. And even putting it into the realm of the conspiracy with that, which I think is more interesting than all the rest. Because we as people, even if you're not into the celebrity culture, it's part of you because you watch TV, you watch movies, you listen to music, and then you find out all these people are either in on it or affected by it.
Yeah.
And you kind of go like, the whole entertainment system is going to fall apart because of this. And at first, you kind of get upset of like, well, shit, what am I going to do without a Leonardo DiCaprio movie? And then you go, fuck that guy, he's probably evil.
Yeah.
Which Leonardo DiCaprio movies are mostly overrated anyway.
Titanic was riveting. I didn't know how that shit was going to end, bro. No, I mean, you see celebrities in the movies and shit, and they're big stars, and you kind of feel like you know them because you've seen so many movies with them. But you have to take into the fact that they're actors, and that's not really them. But yeah, like you look up to these people who have played like these inspirational roles and shit like that, but it turns out in real life they're fucking garbage.
Yeah.
Like Steven Seagal. I mean...
What do you mean by that?
Like, you and I both grew up watching his movies, thought he was a fucking badass, and it turns out he's fucking a monster.
He's a huge piece of shit.
Yeah.
Which, we're going to get to that one.
He's at least 7 Katie Courics.
But yeah, it's definitely a weird thing, the way we have kind of a relationship with celebrities. And I think you, in a way, have to be able to separate the art from the artist. And I think I probably talked about this before, where you look at like Elvis Presley, renowned for, having a thing for like early teenage girls, very young teenage girls. He called them his cherries. Mm-hmm. Fuck, he married Priscilla when she was like 14. Like, dude was a pedo.
Yeah.
But his music is great. Or Michael Jackson, like little kids. Music is still great. Where do you differentiate the line between, I can still enjoy this person's art, but I hate the artist,
So what do you think, or did you like uncover a whole lot about the involvement of UFOs and UAPs in the wildfires?
I did not come across a whole lot with that, sadly, because that would have been my bread and butter.
Yeah.
But I think there were so many other things that played into the zeitgeist aspect of it, with celebrity culture or even the direct energy weapons and things like that, that was much more interesting to me. Mm-hmm. But also just knowing how fucking terrible the government of California is kind of became like the more I guess true north for me, because even the forestry service in California is terrible about picking up down trees and cleaning up brush.
Well, they can't.
Yeah, because it's an environmental protected thing,
right?
Which is so stupid to me. Like the earth will absorb it, or it'll catch on fucking fire.
Yeah, their budget's been cut, and the logging industry has been downsized so much in the past 2 decades that a lot of the forestry service, part of their thing is cutting roads into collect down trees and collecting wood and pulling wood out off the forest floor. And Trump got a lot of flack for saying they need to rake the forest, and he's like, he doesn't mean fucking rake it with a rake. It's like clearing out all the deadfall that you have to do, or else it just becomes a huge tinder pile, which has been happening for the last 20 years, 30 years.
Yeah, almost every year. Which is funny, because as long as I lived in Missouri, there's always dead trees. Yeah. There are trees that fall over and things like that, but they don't have wildfires. And you could say part of that is the humidity, but the other part of that is a lot of people cut firewood to heat their home. And they're like, oh, this tree's already on the ground? Perfect.
Yeah.
It's already dried out.
Yeah.
Which is just like, use your common sense. If a dead tree lays there long enough, it dries out, and it's like a match.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much.
No. And it's like, a lot of people were blaming like global warming for the wildfires, and it's like, no. California has a history of forest fires. Like, if you even look at the fucking trees, the redwood trees, they've developed, the bark is like fireproof pretty much. Yeah. So the fire goes through, burns out all the underbrush, the bark protects the inside of the tree, and everything underneath dyes it and feeds the tree.
Yeah.
So that's how the trees get so big.
Well, trees have a moisture layer.
They have a natural way to survive these fires because it happens all the time. And it's happened for centuries and millennia.
It's been so long that trees have learned to adapt.
Yeah, I think redwood trees, actually, the pine cones only open up in fire.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
The pine cones fall down on the ground and they stay solid until the fire comes through and it opens it up and releases the seeds.
Fucking makes sense.
Yeah.
That's evolution at its finest.
It's like they were designed by fire.
It's like they've evolved over, a really fucking long time.
100,000 years.
So one thing I wanted to talk about, going back to, was the disaster capitalist. So we talked about it kind of with Maui, but with Southern California, you're talking very prime real estate.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even in, the Inland Empire and towards the Nevada border, it's not like well sought after property. It's not beachfront or anything like that, but that property is still pretty valuable. Do you think that we should have some kind of law in place to where when a natural disaster like that happens, that companies cannot come in and offer you money for your property?
I don't know. That's a tough one. I think they should be able to offer you money, but it has to be at least half of the value of what the house was that used to be there. Because I know that that's what has happened in Maui, is that companies have come through and bought up parcels of land for like $72,000, $75,000. It's like if the house was there, it would be, $2-3 billion.
Yeah.
Just because there's a property there. But it's like, these people have nothing, and so I'm going to offer them peanuts, buy their shit, and make a ton of money off of it. So if they were going to do that, I think that the law would there's going to be people that are like, they don't want to fucking rebuild. They're just like, fuck this, dude, I'm out.
Yeah.
And so to try to get some money out of it, I would think that it should have to be at least like 50% of what the property was valued at before the fire.
Yeah, I think fair market value on the lot itself, let's say you have 5 acres, and without a house pre-fire, it would be worth, $100,000. But with a house, it's worth $200,000. Like, they should at least give you $150,000.
Yeah.
But I also think there should be kind of something taken into account of like how much was on your note, because let's say you bought that house last week and then the fire comes and burns it down, like $150,000 isn't going to cover my $200,000 purchase that I just made.
Yeah.
Versus, somebody who has been in that house has been paid off for 15 years or whatever, and you're giving them a fair market value. It just needs to be equitable in some way.
Yeah. I think that's what the concern is with most of these people that or a lot of these people, regular people that have lost their homes in California, is, a lot of these houses were purchased, in the 50s and 60s, and generations of people have lived there this whole time and owned it in the same family. So the house is probably paid for, and the taxes, I think the way that California has it set up is that the taxes don't go up if you bought it at a certain time. And so they're paying reasonably low property taxes.
Can't have that.
And so, they wouldn't be able to afford to rebuild or pay the property taxes on some shit like that.
No. And a lot of the people that are like, it's not as many claiming that they want to rebuild. Yeah. Most of them are just like, I'm done with this fire shit and the super high taxes here in California. Like, I'll just take the money and run. That's what I would do.
That's what I would do too.
Same with, on the East Coast where everybody gets hit with hurricanes every couple of years. Nah, bruh, I'm moving inland.
Now, if they're going to pay me, if they're going to buy me out for my property for $70,000, or they're going to give me $300,000 to rebuild, I'll probably rebuild.
Oh, for sure.
And so I think that there's, more of opportunity to incentivize people to stay and maintain the economy that they're used to with all the people there. Because it's going to take, I mean, it's going to be years before that shit is rebuilt and back to any kind of like normalcy.
Yeah, no, it's at least a decade-long process from here. I mean, I was seeing the number of how many acres have burned, and it's so much. And it seems like it's not a lot when you look at a map, but it's actually not that big of an area. But it's so much of it is burned down, and it's so much of it is residential. Yeah. Which is not exactly what they're used to in California. They normally have like the wildfires in the open land and things like that, but where it's reaching, you know, the Palisades or whatever, that's out of character. Yeah. And they're definitely not used to that kind of damage.
Well, yeah, a big part of it was like people saying that, you know, it was planned because, obviously planned because the insurance policies were taken away, like the fire insurance policies.
Which is strange that also happened in Maui.
Yeah.
Literally weeks before the fires.
But you have to take into account that, like, insurance agencies have risk assessors that, you know, that's their job, is kind of to assess the risk of, like, what's going on in the city, all around the place that their policies are set up in. And it's like, yeah, you see, you know, the forests, how the forests aren't being maintained, how the water is not being maintained. You can see that if there's something that's going to happen, there's not going to be a way to stop it.
Yeah.
So the insurance companies were assessing this and telling the governor and the mayor, saying, hey, you guys need to do this or we're going to pull out. This was like a year ago that the insurance companies were telling them they were going to pull out of California, because right now on every dollar they collect, they pay out $1.08. So they're losing money. Like, the insurance companies are losing money fucking hand over fist.
Yeah.
And so they're like, we can't afford to maintain this. If you guys don't do anything, we're going to pull out. And so they finally did. And shit happens.
Well, I think there needs to be a system in place for that, where insurance companies will still cover people's homes, but they need the state to reimburse because of their failure to maintain.
Yeah.
I think that's totally fair.
Yeah.
California can afford it. But yeah, you see things like that, and the same thing happened in Maui, where these policies got canceled, predicated on that information. But it seems like, yeah, they have a point, but it's your job to help protect people, help rebuild their lives. Like, that's why we pay you premiums.
Yeah.
So I think at the very least they need to pay back all the premiums.
All the premiums, yeah, for sure.
But then, you know, when a fucking Luigi Mangione goes and offs a CEO of an insurance company and people feel bad for him, like, I don't. Fuck them. Like, how many lives do those people ruin?
Yeah.
Because they're trying to, you know, keep a hold of money.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is weird, but it does make sense.
Yeah. I'm not saying the insurance companies are right. I'm just saying, if you're trying to run a business, you're going to do what's best for your business and be like, yeah, I'm not going to fucking spend all this money to lose money.
No, I agree. But again, there needs to be some kind of equity with that.
Yeah. And I actually saw a video of talking about how they were talking about some of the insurance companies were talking about paying out people their back premiums,
which would be great on their behalf.
Yeah.
Like,
just to give something back, you know.
Yeah, think of how many premiums they've paid for however long. I mean, let's say you had a 30-year note and you've been paying your insurance for 29 years. Like, at the very least, that could be, you know, $80,000 or whatever.
Yeah. Like,
that would help.
Yeah.
But I also think insurance companies should pay back your premiums if you don't use it.
Yeah.
Healthcare, car insurance, all that. I don't know why my car insurance is so high, but I kind of feel like if I go a whole year and nothing happens, they should give me back all my premiums for the year.
Right. It's weird to have to pay for shit just in case something happens, and then you still have to fight for fucking every single nickel and dime that you want to try to get.
Insurance companies are terrible.
It's almost like you just set up like a bank account that's for like in case shit happens, and take all your insurance premiums and put it in that instead, so you hold on to your money.
Yeah.
Reinvest it.
Yeah, because you can get up to like, well, I've got so much in there, and this will cover basically anything, so I could take this much out and do whatever with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you think the California fires were arson?
I don't know. I think that some of it probably was, and there was definitely there. I've seen videos of people going through and lighting fires.
Oh yeah.
I think some of it was like probably homeless people who reportedly light fires up there all the time. Like they're up there, it's wintertime, they're trying to stay warm. Mm-hmm. They go up in the hills, start a fire, cook some food, and that's where they live. So I think probably that has a lot to do with it. Especially the way that the winds were, like they reported over 100-mile-an-hour winds, the Santa Ana winds that come through there.
Yeah, Santa Ana winds don't fuck around
all the time, and so it's not a abnormal thing for these winds to be super strong. But so I think that it probably initially started as an accident, and maybe some people just decided to run with it.
Yeah, I've seen a few videos of people intentionally trying to light fires in residential areas. Yeah,
on the fire,
walking around with a blowtorch trying to light up palm trees and shit. And I think as much civil unrest as the whole country has, just as well as California, because it's hard to live there.
Yeah,
I would not be surprised.
Yeah, and I've seen those videos too, and I don't know how much of that is like.
I don't think it's enough.
People trying to be like, okay, the fire's coming this way, we're going to start a fire line, which you see people do. Like, that's kind of how you control a fire a lot of times, is create artificial fire lines by burning a section. The fire's coming this way, so you get ahead of it, burn a line so that the fire gets up there and stops.
Yeah.
So you can control this line that you've set, let it burn for a certain amount of feet, put it out, and then the fire gets there and then is out.
Yeah.
So I could see people, on their properties trying to do that, like going around their property and burning shit that is going to possibly catch on fire and trying to control it that way for their own personal, trying to save their house and shit.
Yeah.
But you can't really tell by the videos. It just looks like people are starting fires.
Yeah, I mean, when you come up and throw a Molotov in a dumpster, that's pretty blatant.
Yeah.
But I couldn't see that as being enough to start that big of a fire.
Yeah.
I could definitely see a concerted group of people doing that, because the way the fires were kind of sporadic in these different areas, I could very easily see it being like a case of arson. A team of people are like, all right, you're going to do the Palisades, and we're going to go over here to Modesto, and you're, whatever. There's like 9 different fires, but yeah, just consorting together to be like, fuck the government. Let's do it. Even though you're not hurting the government, you're hurting the people.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole thing's weird. I think you nailed it though. Bigfoot came in on a UFO.
That was my dream anyway. Well, I think that the whole thing was just super bad circumstances all at the right time.
Oh yeah.
They had a lot of what was it, last year that like LA flooded around this time. So like with all that water, it's going to create a lot more growth in all the greenery. Cut to 1 year later, all that shit is overgrown, and now it's all dried out because they haven't had substantial rain in about 8 months.
Yeah.
So everything is dry. And somebody starts a fire. These Santa Ana winds come through and just fucking, it eats everything. So all of that, compiled with all of the mismanagement that the government has been doing, like with cutting forestry service budgets, cutting the fire department's budgets, draining these fucking water tanks at the wrong times, like,
or just not refilling
or
them.
going to Ghana for the Ghanaian president's election or whatever, just because
So
you
dumb.
are in a position that you think that you're somebody special.
I have never understood why politicians that represent a specific area need to leave that area.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, if you're the representative for this, like if you're the governor of Utah, why do you need to go other places?
Yeah.
If you're, the president, the vice president, people like that, or you're part of in accords or something, okay, I get that, but why the fuck would you go over there for an election?
No, it was an inauguration. It was a celebration of whoever
Yeah,
got-
but why?
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck?
I don't know.
It's so dumb.
But yeah, I just think that it could it have been prevented? I don't know if it could have been prevented, but like it could have been managed a lot better.
Well, I think this is the wake-up call.
Yeah.
Like, this is... like you had said the other day with that press conference, it's got that daddy's back vibes.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, like Mel Gibson was commenting on the same thing, and he's like, oh, daddy's home, and he just took his belt off kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be the kind of turning point of, okay, we actually need to put money into logging. We need to put more money into forestry services to make sure that we don't have deadfall and things like that that could start a fire.
Well, there's so much money to be made in those industries, like pulling out all that old wood and selling it to other countries for it's like a third of the world still relies on wood and coal to burn on a daily basis. Like, we have all of that. There's so much wood in that forest. Like,
oh yeah.
So it was weird because Kara and I were in Maui like a year before the fires there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were in California. We were in Northern California like a year before.
Did you manifest
Maybe
it?
it was 2 years. We went up to the redwood forest and stuff. But we actually, we were walking around in the forest, and I was just looking at, if you ever been there, the redwood trees are fucking crazy huge, and they're just falling all over everywhere. And you feel like an ant just walking through this maze of giant
they're
trees.
Enormous.
And so I was telling Kara, could you imagine just a squirrel that just grows super big because the trees are so big, just a 7-foot squirrel running around here with these huge feet, and I don't know, people see him sometimes, call him Bigfoot. But on the way home, so we drove, we went to Tahoe and went down through the Sierra Nevadas, went up through Redding, all the way up the coast to very northern tip of California.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there we drove kind of across and up into Oregon, and then across Nevada and down through Reno. But on our way back, we left there at 5 a.m. to drive all day long to come back to Salt Lake. And we were driving through the forest, through the mountains, look up, and this fucking mountain is just raging on fire. It's all green, and there was, fire trucks down on the bottom. They can't get up there, so they're just waiting for airdrop water to come through and try to put it out. But even then, it was just kind of a normal thing for them to be watching this mountain on fire, and it was holy shit, they're just letting us drive through this. Okay.
Well, even here in Utah, when mountains are on fire, I think it's got to be partly because of our firemen, and the other part is understanding the way nature works. Is because you'll hear about a fire, but it's always under control here.
Yeah.
It's never oh shit, it's going to spread to the valley. It's always just oh yeah, no, it's burning. Just give it a minute, and then poof, it's done. And you'll drive through the canyon or whatever and see just a whole mountainside. It's scorched. Then you get to the other side and it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It's either they're really skilled at what they do, or they just know exactly how it's going to go.
Yeah. Well, I was actually watching a video about this guy who's somebody who studies climate, I don't know what they're called. Climatologist or
The Democrat?
Yeah.
Because they all know exactly what climate change is.
So he's talking about like people are blaming the fires on climate change, and he's like, actually, in the past 2 decades, the number of wildfires like this is decreased, but the percentage of farmland has increased. And so, it's offsetting each other because it seems like there's more wildfires, but it's just that people are getting closer and closer to these wildfires as, people spread out and population grows. But yeah, he was saying that, the number is actually, as the climate is changing, the number of wildfires is actually decreasing, which is actually potentially worse because the fires need to go through and clean out all that old shit. So people that blame it on climate change are just, look at the facts. Climate always changes.
Climate does change, and I don't know enough about it to really have a firm opinion, but I know when they push it as hard as they do, but they don't make an understanding of what climate change is. It's like, okay, you have an agenda.
Well, they know that. That's why they changed the term from global warming to climate change, because they couldn't prove global warming. They could prove the climate was changing because it always does and always has.
It's always fluctuated. And when they talk about, climate change is so bad, the ocean level is going to rise 1 inch in 100 years. Like, that sounds like a problem for in 100 years. I'm sorry. That's not enough for me.
Well, I hope when my fucking great-grandchildren grow gills like fucking Kevin Costner in Waterworld.
Hey, don't worry. I'm not going to leave them any beachfront property. So, California.
They will have it.
They could. Yeah, California is just a hub for natural disasters. You think about it, fires, flooding, mudslides. I remember when I was a kid, it seemed like there was a mudslide all the time, or a flood, earthquakes. Definitely an easy hub for a potential terrorist attack.
Yeah.
It's just like, I think California is beautiful. Now, being from there, the weather there is great. The culture there is actually really beautiful. You couldn't pay me to live there anymore.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. California is a beautiful place. It has its drawbacks, just like everywhere else. Like Midwest, you're going to deal with tornadoes. Flooding, shit like that.
Yeah, the Midwest, tornadoes was always a big thing. People would just lose their mind over it.
Yeah.
Oh, did you hear that a tornado touched down at so-and-so place? That's 400 miles away. I don't think we're in any danger.
Yeah. So final thoughts. What do you think?
Again, just the ineptitude of the state. Even if it was arson, they still should have been much better prepared for it.
Yeah.
I think they should be more prepared for the fact that they've had plenty of warnings. They've had plenty of fires over forever long that they could have had systems in place.
Yeah.
I think every factor of them not being able to fight the fires just goes to show that
their system's broken.
Their system is severely broken. I mean, the lady who makes $750,000 a year from the state to do this one job that's not done, and there's a lot of that going around. There's a lot of bureaucracy there when there needs to be action.
Yeah.
That's just it.
Seems like the Democratic way is you get hired to do a job, so what do? You hire somebody else to do the job for you.
Yeah.
Well, let me check on this person that was supposed to do it. Well, that's supposed to be you.
Yeah.
Well, I created a team to do that for me.
I'm a leader. I delegate.
Yeah. I'm a people person.
Look, I got voted into this position because of which side of the aisle I'm on. All right, that's it.
So I totally agree with you. I think that hopefully moving forward things will change a little bit and they'll reprioritize people, and
hopefully my heart goes out to those people.
Yeah.
I mean, not the politicians, but the normal people who lost their homes.
People that are going to be without a house and without fucking anything for the next while.
I gotta admit, I'm not that concerned about the celebrities. They'll be okay.
Yeah, I think they'll they'll be able to rebuild somewhere else. I mean,
what's Paris Hilton going to do?
Sounds like there's some property going up for sale in Maui.
There's 3 new homes there. All right, let's pull it there. Okay, love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.